everybody, this is Tony, Big Gigantos. It's time for something a little bit different now. This is not a Transformers video, as you can obviously see. So you might not want to watch if you're not into Masters of the Universe, which is one of the characters of which we have here. And I'm going to start off my Masters of the Universe series by reviewing Mer Man. I'm going to do it for the most part in this format because it's the figure you want to see, not really me rambling on. If I need to tell you something about it, I might do pointing the camera at myself with it in my hand, but we'll see how it goes. But for the most part I'm going to just do it like this because it's the toy we want to review, and I can tell you a bit about the character as I'm doing it. I'm going to keep these short and sweet, they're not going to ramble on for too long. So I'm going to start with Mer Man. This is your basic Masters of the Universe figure. 1983, I believe. In fact, I started with these before Transformers even came out. I think I was about 8 years old. And I got Mer Man for my 9th birthday. Not this particular one, but I got him for my 9th birthday. So this one's a little bit sentimental for me. He wasn't the first figure I had. The previous Christmas I had Skeletor, but that's for another review. Today we're going to look at Mer Man. You can obviously see this is him there. Comes with this fish-like sword. I will get a little bit closer in a minute so you can pick up the detail much better. Obviously this is the basic standard mould of most of the figures. If I just turn him around there, you can see that this will unhook and the body armour can indeed come off. He's got this very strange kind of, so I'm not sure, in this light you can't really see it, but this is kind of an aqua green colour on his skin here, although as I'm looking at it on the camera here it does look a bit more blue, but it is actually kind of a sea aqua green, which you would expect for a Mer Man, even though he hasn't got any fishtails. He has legs, obviously. In the cartoon, his skin was dark blue and not like this light green. He's not that accurate, really, to the show. This is one thing I could never understand with either Masters of the Universe or with Transformers, why the characters themselves didn't look exactly like the toy did. Because I now know, well, we all now know, that the toys were made first, and then the animation company were employed to make a show based on the figures. So why they didn't make them look like the toys that were designed, I really don't know. He does kind of look a bit similar, you know, the body armour is similar, but as you'll see when I get a little bit closer to his face, that he looks more like a cat than he does resemble a fish. In the show he had gills coming out of the side of him that looked a little bit like bat wings, but they came out the side of his head. They didn't have all this going on at the top. And he has kind of a hairstyle going on at the back as well, but I'll show you that in a little bit more detail in a sec. This thing here on the front of his armour, that was quite synonymous for being quite loose and coming off, and I actually did lose that on the one I had back in the day. Loincloth, underpants, whatever you want to call it. This sort of bright orange, which works well against that, I suppose. It's kind of a nice contrast. And like most of them, this design was pretty much the same. You had the belt with the big circle on it, and then other circles going around the back, and the kind of furry appearance going on there. Exactly the same muscle sculpt. One thing with most of the villains as well, they tended to have this webbed feet design as opposed to the boots. Obviously some did have boots, but for the most part they did have webbed feet like this. The sword that comes with him does almost sort of match the armour, and it also has this this little bit on the side which helps to keep it in the hands. You can put it in either hand, but I think it kind of works best in that hand there. The thing is, you can't really turn it around, but I suppose as if you wanted to put it in the left hand, obviously his left hand is open, so that's where that thing would come into play there. Now you see what's happened. See, that's come off. will go on back on again pretty easily. There it goes. His punch feature does still work. Obviously, like most of these guys, they have the you pull out one of their fists, rotate him round, and this guy snaps back pretty quickly. Look at that. See, you can't even see that. It's so fast. It's almost like he appears within an instant. Ready? That's how quick that is. That actually works really well. Both sides as well. It will work the other way. Yeah, no problem there. Right, I'll just show you a quick close-up of him. There, now that's much better. You can see his face a lot clearer on that, and you can see what I mean about the kind of cat-like features going on here. They don't really look like fish fins, and I'm not sure if that's deliberate or whether it's a mistake on the paint job, but I'm sure that the orange that's painted on him should only be going around his eyes on this bit here. Why it quite goes onto the face here, I'm not entirely sure. You can see it kind of overlaps there and goes onto the face, whereas I'm sure it should just stop on the bit around his eyes. But he's got very piercing pupils in his eyes. Just a slight paint smudge above the left eye there. And a bit some strange kind of fish teeth. Like I say, he's not very fish looking really. You can see on the body armour there are his his fish scales. And then of course you've got all the muscular detail there. Pretty much standard on most of them really, as we all know. And there you've got the usual belt design, and then the inscription on the back. Mattel toys, no talk of Hasbro in these reviews. I can't make out what the date says on it. My eyes are really... can't make that out. No, I'm sure that says 1980. Oh, it's 1981. Yeah, that's what the marks are right on the back of them there. They all have that. So 1981 when they actually came out. Didn't realise it was that early. Unless I'm seeing things and I've actually read that wrong. 1980. I can't see it. My eyes aren't that great. I could be wrong. But it looks like it says 1981. But that's where all the marks were. And then you can see there on the sword. Again, it's all the details. It's kind of a similar thing going on there. And you can indeed store it on his back. Put it down there if you really wanted to. Although it's not designed for it, and you risk this bit here snapping off. One of Skeletor's henchmen. Didn't really see a lot of him in the show as you saw some of the other ones, but he did have one episode dedicated to him in which he was the main villain. I can't remember what it's called now, but it involved Teela as well. That's right. I think he kidnapped Teela. I'm sure that's what it was. Yes, he was the main villain in one of the shows, and he often appears at Skeletor's table of counsellors as well, usually with Trapjaw, Triclops and Beastman and Evil in. He's one of the main villains in the show, although you don't often see him appearing on his own. But nevertheless, he was a very good character, and I did like him an awful lot. Like I say, sentimental value I've got for this guy, one of the better ones. It's a shame he didn't look more like he appeared in the show, but not a lot you can do about it. Usual articulation, I don't need to describe too much about that. They've got the older rubber legs thing going on there, but he stands up very well on his own. See, if I move him away, I have to turn the camera off to refocus it, which is a bit of a pain. But that is Mer Man. I'm going to leave that review there. Hope you like this one. There'll be plenty more of these to come. And I'll see you all again very soon, guys.